please click your buttons to red. Call the meeting to order. Those that care to, please stand for an opening prayer and pledge of allegiance. Mr. Cameron, would you please lead us in prayer?
Let's pray. Lord Father, we just thank you for this day and just thank you for all that you do for us. Just thank you for this city. Thank you for, Lord, all that you do. And I just pray, Lord, that you would guide and direct us in all that we do and all that we say as we take up the needs of the city. Be with this community. Thank you for this leadership. Thank you for our community and all that you're doing. In Jesus' name, amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to start things out this evening with some sad news. I have gotten an email from Mr. Grooms, our Ward 3 City Council member, that he is going to be resigning effective immediately from City Council due to a move. And I just wanted to take this moment to say thank you. Thank you for your service. Mr. Grooms resigned. He, yep, moving to Nixa. So I'm not happy about that, but we totally understand. In this housing market, when you find a house, you got to jump on it. And Mr. Grooms, you have been a voice of reason, and I appreciate your thoughtful questions. I appreciate the experience you bring to City Council, and it will be missed. I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you, and if you'd like to say anything, you're welcome to.
Thank you. That does actually mean a lot, and I want to thank all of you. This is an incredible board. And this city has some incredible leadership, and I was honored to be here. And I just want to say one thing to wherever that camera is. People, don't let anyone run unopposed. Get out there, speak your voice, and step up to this microphone one day, because it changes your view on the whole process.
So thank you, Mr. Grooms. You are free to leave. I understand that there's a lot of packing that you are having to do right now. And thank you for your service, and best of luck to you in the future.
Stage left or stage right?
Wherever you want. We'll work with it.
I don't want to set off alarms. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
With that, I do have an announcement that we will be opening up application process for his vacant seat. We will go through a vetting process, and then we have to present to council any for your consent, any selection that I would make for filling Mr. Grooms' seat. So that process will start, and we will be notifying the citizens via Facebook and other media outlets. Moving on to proclamations. I would like to make a proclamation. Whereas Republic City employees are committed to public service and perform their jobs with professionalism, compassion, dedication, and pride, and whereas public service is a noble calling involving a wide variety of challenging and rewarding professions, including providing vital family, health, and educational services, maintaining public safety, improving transportation, protecting our environment, and performing management activities which are essential to the efficient and effective operation of our city, and whereas Republic City Employee Appreciation Week strives to inform our citizens about the quality of our people, their commitment to high ethical standards, and the value of the services they perform to increase the satisfaction of those who are being served, and whereas may this commemoration provide an opportunity for all citizens of our community to pay tribute to the profession and the spirit of the public service, and to express our deep appreciation for the many contributions Republic City employees make to our daily lives. Now, therefore, I, Matt Russell, Mayor of the City of Republic, Missouri, do hereby proclaim the week of May 9th through the 13th, 2022 as Republic City Employee Appreciation Week. And I will sign that and present that to our city administrator.
Oh.
Yeah. You, on behalf.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Look, I have said this, you all know this. Without the city employees, we would not be where we're at today. So we really do appreciate the city employees, and look forward to seeing you at the picnic.
Well, Mr. Mayor, on behalf of the employees, I want to thank you for this week that it does recognize all of our employees. It really is what makes it happen. I mean, when you look at the transformation of the community and the things that have taken place, it takes buy-in on every level and every person that's involved. And when I tell people what we've done and what's taken place, it's just you have a lot of buy-in. And I just appreciate the employees, and I can't wait to celebrate what we do each year and just talk about the vision and the direction we're heading for the next year, because it's exciting. It's a lot. But again, I love the commitment and the dedication. We got a lot of projects that are going on, so I appreciate the recognition. Thank you.
Moving on to citizen participation. I would like to open it up for citizen participation. Anyone wishing to speak to something not on the agenda this evening, please approach the podium and you will be given 3 minutes not on the agenda. Seeing none, I'm going to close citizen participation, move on to the consent agenda. Please note that items 2 and 3 are on the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion and a second for the approval of the consent agenda.
Motion.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. Moving on to boards, commissions, and committee schedules, please note that the Board of Adjustments meeting from May 5th, 2022 is canceled, and so is the Planning and Zoning meeting on May 9th, 2022. Both are canceled. City Council will take place on May 17th, 2022, and June 7th, 2022. Moving on to item number 4 on our agenda, I need a motion and a second for the second reading of Bill 22-24 by title only, please.
Motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. Madam Clerk.
An ordinance of the City Council approving amendment of the zoning classification of approximately 91.55 acres located at the 6500 block of West US Highway 60 from agricultural AG and light industrial M1 to Wilson's Valley Plan Development District PDD.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any updates or comments from staff?
No.
Any questions or discussion from council?
No.
Seeing none, I would entertain a motion and a second for the final passage of Bill 22-24.
Motion.
We've got motions and seconds. We will now take a roll call vote on your computers. Please click refresh, cast your vote, hit submit. And I have to remember to put my glasses on to see the vote. Motion carries 7-0. Moving on to item number 5 on our agenda, I need a motion and a second for the second reading of Bill 22-25 by title only, please.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. Madam Clerk.
An ordinance of the City Council approving amendment of the zoning classification of approximately 4.92 acres located at 1022 North Republic Commons Drive from general commercial C2 to multifamily residential R3.
Thank you, ma'am. Any updates from the city staff?
No.
Any discussion or comments from council? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion and a second for a final passage of Bill 22-25.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We will now take a roll call vote on our computers. Please click refresh. Cast your vote. Hit submit. Motion carries 7-0. Moving on to item number 6 on our agenda. I need a motion and a second for the second reading of Bill 22-26 by title only, please.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. Madam Clerk.
An ordinance of the City Council approving a special use permit for Wilmot Oil Company LLC to operate a self-storage facility on property located at the southwest termination of West Civic Boulevard.
Thank you, ma'am. Any updates from staff?
None.
Any questions or discussion from council? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion and a second for the final passage of Bill 22-26.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We will take a roll call vote on our computers, please. Please click refresh. Cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Moving on to item number 7 on our agenda. I need a motion and a second for the second reading of Bill 22-27 by title only, please.
Motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. Madam Clerk.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri approving the final plat of the Oak Hills Phase 1 subdivision.
Thank you, ma'am. Any updates from staff?
No updates.
Any questions or discussion from council? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion and a second for the final passage of Bill 22-27.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We will now take a roll call vote on our computers.
Click. Push. You're good.
Motion carries 7-0. Moving on to item number 8 on our agenda, I need a motion and a second for the second reading of Bill 22-28 by title only, please.
Motion.
Motion. Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. Madam Clerk.
An ordinance of the City Council authorizing the city administrator to execute an intergovernmental cooperative agreement with Greene County for the expansion of a portion of Highway MM between the Interstate 44 interchange and the Route 360 interchange.
Thank you, ma'am. Any updates from council? Or from staff, sorry. Yeah. Any questions or discussion from council? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion and a second for final passage of Bill 22-28.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We will take a roll call vote on our computers.
Oh, you're good.
I have to take a refresher course.
Motion carries 7-0. Moving on to item number 9 on our agenda. I understand that there's an amendment to this. Is that correct? Excellent. Would you please approach and explain what the amendment is? Hi.
Good evening.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Wonderful, thank you.
Megan Cook, Finance Director. We did have an amendment to the amendment. We are asking to increase the general fund by $8,000 for police fuel expense, but this is offset due to a revenue check, so a reimbursement for training that they were not anticipating. So the net difference or change over the general fund is $0. Also, with the general fund, we're requesting $10,000 for an increase in fire station carpet. Sorry,
What did Dwayne do to the carpet?
right?
It's about time.
So with the economy, prices have increased and we're already working on replacing it. So we're asking for an increase there. And then that makes a net change of $235,771 for a grand total of $14.5 million in expenses. The street fund, we're requesting $90,000. $78,000 is for a generator, $12,000 for a transfer switch, This is a 50-week lead time, so we're just trying to do this for transparency in case it comes in early. The street fund has a healthy cash position, and so if it should come in early, we're good there. And this would make a grand total change from the last time of 90,000. So a grand total of 5.7 million in expenditures. The CIST fund, we're requesting an increase for 49.5 thousand for an animal control vehicle that has become available on the lot that we were needing for a long time. They were needing this since 2020 and it just wasn't available, and with lead times due to COVID, this has now become available. And so this increases our expenditures to 2.1 million in the CIST fund. For the wastewater fund, we're just doing this for transparency. We're requesting to move 400,000 from the equipment and materials up to the public works building cost, because we don't anticipate needing to purchase any equipment or anything like that for the building yet. We just need to finish the building.
Do we have any questions or discussion from council on this proposed motion to amend?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr.
I
Franklin?
just have a general question. This generator, is this the generator that was in the consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay. That's my only question.
Yeah, we're trying to make sure we just have transparency on both sides. And so we're just trying to get on the books now, even though we don't anticipate it for next year. So likely, if the lead times remain constant, you'll see that it comes off this year, gets moved into next year as needed.
You said it was 50 weeks?
Yes,
Yeah.
that we're hearing about right now. Yeah, but we want to go ahead and get it ordered so we're not pushed behind in 50 weeks.
Sure. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Gerke.
The 400,000, I didn't catch that, so what was the change on that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, the 400,000, we're just trying to move it. We have it already budgeted in equipment and materials on the wastewater fund. We're just wanting to, for transparency's sake, move it to cover more of the expenditure cost on the front end for the building, because we don't anticipate needing to purchase that this year. We might need to purchase it more like next year.
It's the net effect would be zero then.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Thank you.
Other questions from council?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Cameron?
just one comment. Megan, I appreciate the work and I appreciate the complexity of this amendment, because I think this is something we're gonna have to see a lot of going forward, because like what is not being stated, and she's explaining it, is the animal control truck was ordered, it was in 2020. So it's been budgeted. So when someone says it's a budget amendment, did you not budget accordingly? We've been budgeting for the truck, paid for it, but each year whenever it doesn't get spent, if it doesn't get reallocated in the budget, even though you've already approved the purchase of the truck 2 years ago. So I want to make it very clear, it's not for a lack of oversight, it's more about just a lack of availability. So we're approving these things with these anticipation and making adjustments, trying to anticipate 50-week lead times. That's unheard of, so I applaud the staff and the understanding. So if you have questions about why these things keep getting added and did we miss it, not really, it's just trying to anticipate the way the new normal has been for us when it comes to budgeting. It's very difficult when you have, not 50 weeks is one thing, but 2 years not to get the truck is another.
Exactly.
So thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Any other questions from council? All right, now we're going to test my Robert's Rules of Procedures to see if I can get this right.
Good luck.
So, thanks. All right, so we have just been talking about an amendment, so I would accept a motion and a second to amend the 22-29 ordinance as discussed in open session.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Now we can take it doesn't have to be a roll call vote. So I would ask for a vote on the motion to amend. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Anybody not want to vote? All right, everybody wants to vote. All right, so the motion to amend, it's a hard word, folks. I've been faking it for a long time. The motion to amend passed. Now we are going to go into, I need a motion and a second for the second reading of Bill 22-29 as amended by title only, please.
Motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Anybody else? All right. Motion carries 7-0. Madam Clerk.
An ordinance of the City Council approving budget amendment number 1 to the budget for the fiscal year 2022.
That's it?
That's it.
All right, perfect. We will now, any other updates from the city? You're done. No other updates. Any other questions from council? Seeing that, I will now take a motion and a second for the final passage of Bill 22-29.
Motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We will now take a roll call vote. Sorry, I lost it there for a second. Late lunch.
Late.
I know how to say it. I was being funny. Abstention. There. Motion carries 7-0. Moving on to new business, this is item number 10 on our agenda. First, we're going to do a public hearing. Karen and I finally worked this out. At this time, I will open up the public hearing on approving the annexation of approximately 1.38 acres located at 6700 block of West US Highway 60 and adjacent right-of-way. The way this public hearing will be conducted, we will give anybody here 3 minutes to speak, wishing to speak on it. We will start with those in opposition and then move to those in favor. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak in opposition to this annexation? Seeing none, is there anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this annexation? Please approach the podium, state your name, and you have 3 minutes, sir. And good evening.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Sexton. I'm a representative of Timberline Land Company, and really just here to request the annex of the property, the 1.3 acres of land located at the 67 block of East US Highway 60 to be developed as a climate-controlled self-storage facility.
Does anyone have any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Yeah,
I
thank
appreciate
you.
it, sir.
Thank you.
All right. We will now close the public hearing and move on to item number 11 on our agenda. I need a motion and a second for the first reading of Bill 22-30 by title only.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. Madam Clerk.
An ordinance of the City Council approving the annexation of approximately 1.38 acres located at the 6700 block of West US Highway 60 and adjacent right-of-way.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening. Karen Haynes, Assistant Builds Administrator. The Builds Department received a voluntary annexation application for the Timberline Land Company property consisting of 1.38 acres. It's located at the 6700 block of West US Highway 60. You'll notice the reference property is outlined in blue, and that is at the southwest intersection of US Highway 60 and South Farm Road 101. The property is compact and contiguous and has immediate access to city water and sewer services. The property is zoned agricultural in Greene County currently and will receive the agricultural zoning designation upon the annexation request. Staff believes the annexation of the property is consistent with all of the city's adopted plans, and we are recommending approval.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have any questions from council?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Franklin?
Ms. Haynes, how would the owner of this property access this property? I'm not trying to get ahead of myself on our next agenda item, but with Farm Road 101 there, how would this property access?
Sure, great question. So this property does have access on South Farm Road 101, and the following agenda item actually addresses that road further south.
Further south?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So 101 would still be the access from all of
Correct.
that. Okay.
Any other questions from council? Any other citizen comment? Seeing none, please remember this is a first read, so get with staff before the next meeting. Moving on to item number 12 on our agenda. I need a motion and a second for the first reading of Bill 22-31 by title only, please.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. Madam Clerk.
An ordinance of the City Council amending Ordinance 22-10 vacating a portion of North Brookline Avenue to correct a Scrivener's error.
Thank you, ma'am. You're still here.
I am.
Excellent.
Thank you. City Council approved the vacation request of approximately 385 feet of North Brookline Avenue back on February 22nd of this year. The city street provides access to 2 private properties and is currently a dead-end street. The city was notified after the council approval by the project surveyor that an error had been discovered in the actual legal description, resulting in this request to correct the error, which will be corrected upon council approval.
Does that happen a lot?
It happens occasionally, yes.
Define occasionally for me. Once a year?
It's happened twice this year.
Twice
yes.
this year.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Sir.
I have a point, just a question for legal counsel. Since this, is there any way that this could be read 2 times since it's a Scribner's error?
What do you mean, is there?
Could they not do the first and second read so that this is not on the agenda again? Because there's nothing that's a material change. It's a Scribner's error. It's just something, I hate to throw this at you because it just now hit me. I was like, is there anything that would hold us up from actually holding this up by another 2 weeks for something that is not a material change from what was originally done? It's really more of a clerical error.
Yes, technically it has to be a second read because it was an ordinance originally, and so we have to amend the actual ordinance. And so to amend the ordinance,
No.
it's a second read.
I understand. So, but can we not do both readings in one night?
If the council is willing to entertain a motion for that, and if they vote yes, then yes.
So, Mr. Mayor,
Sir.
I would ask, this is not something, and I know it's probably something that you've not experienced, but since there's a pressing issue that kind of affects the development, I don't think it slows it down. But because this is just a change in the legal description, this is not something that really involves the surrounding property owners. It's really just a vacation of an easement or clarification. I would ask your consideration. Does that have to be placed on the agenda as such? I'm just trying to make sure I get the amendment right. So I'd ask your consideration to add this on its second read, suspending the rule and reading title only, and approve it tonight on its first and second reading.
So, council, you have heard the city administrator's request. Is there anyone here willing to entertain a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so we will now do a vote to make sure that it is done. So, all those in favor of the city administrator's motion to go directly to a second read? All those in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Sorry, that was my fault. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
So motion carries 6-0 to 1. Therefore, we can proceed to a second reading. As a result,
And that will
I've never-
that'll require a roll call vote to
Yep.
do that.
so. I mean, do I have to go through the whole process again, Megan?
Yes.
All right.
Sorry.
That's all right. I am nothing if not flexible.
Sorry. It just hit me. I was like, why do this twice?
I need a motion and a second for the second reading of Bill 22-31 by title only, please.
Motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second for the second read of Bill 22-31. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Motion carries 6-0 to 1. Madam Clerk, please proceed with the second reading.
An ordinance of the City Council amending Ordinance 22-10, vacating portion of North Brookline Avenue to correct a Scrivener's error.
Ms. Haynes, is there an update since the first reading?
There is no update, Mayor. Thank you.
I will now entertain any questions for city staff by council. Seeing no questions, I would entertain a motion and a second for final passage of Bill 22-31.
Motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would you like to do a voice roll call vote?
That's what we need to do.
Okay. Councilmember Updike.
Aye.
Councilmember Poole. Councilmember Poole.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
In the microphone.
Yes.
You don't have to vote on
Got
it.
to vote.
It's a roll call. It's a voice vote, Ms. Poole?
Say yes. That's all you gotta do.
Just got in the microphone.
Right here.
Vote in the microphone.
What?
Say yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Gerke.
Abstain.
Councilmember Wilson.
Yes.
Councilmember Franklin.
Aye.
Councilmember Dykeman.
Aye.
Councilmember Mitchell.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0 to 1. Whew, did we get everything? Did
I
we
think
get
so.
We got it.
All right. Scribner's error fixed, I hope.
It is.
All right, moving on to item number 13 on our agenda. I need a motion and a second for the first reading of Bill 22-32 by title only.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. Madam Clerk.
An ordinance of the City Council amending Title 8 Government Code, Chapter 805, Fee Schedule, Section 805.030, Alcoholic Beverages, and Section 805.050, Buildings and Zoning.
Thank you, ma'am. You're not going to try anything funny here, right?
Absolutely not.
Excellent. Then proceed.
Thank you. The Builds Department is requesting an amendment to Chapter 805, specifically relating to fees administered by the Builds Department, which do include the following. The BVD table, it's the Building Valuation Data Table. It provides the average construction cost per square foot based upon both the use group and the construction type. The table itself is used to calculate building permit fees. Local multiplier. The local multiplier is based upon annual fiscal projections for the building division. The multiplier reduces the per square foot construction costs associated with the building permit fee. The shell multiplier is, again, a multiplier. It's used for the calculation of commercial building permit fees for shell buildings containing no infill spaces. It will also reduce the total per square foot construction cost. Liquor licensing permit, this is for the recently amended liquor licensing ordinance. This is for sale by drink on a temporary basis only. The liquor temporary license permit is a complimentary permit for the one I just spoke of. It is a city business license for temporary liquor sales. And then finally, we have right-of-way fees. This particular right-of-way fee allows the city street division to go in and make the patches associated with a right-of-way permit. So what we found is our roads are not always put back into the shape that we hope that they would be. So this fee allows us to do the actual patching work.
Thank you, ma'am. Questions from council? Seeing none. Ms. Mitchell, did you have a?
No, well, I could talk to you after too. I don't understand some of it, but I was looking at the licensing the liquor, the 72 hours. What good does that do them? Is that just to?
So typically that's going to be for like a special event.
Oh, okay.
So say we have a like a street fair where we have vendors selling alcoholic beverages for the weekend.
Yes,
So it'd
makes
be
sense.
just a temporary basis.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Great question. Any other questions from council? Seeing none, please remember this is a first read. Get with staff before the next meeting. Moving on to item number 14 on our agenda, I need a motion and a second for the first reading of Bill 22-33 by title only, please.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. Madam Clerk.
An ordinance of the City Council authorizing the permanent closure of Farm Road 101 between State Highway M and the southernmost entrance to Old Stone Apartments.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Brickner.
Good evening. Garrett Brickner, Engineering Manager. Recently, the City of Republic annexed Farm Road 101 from Greene County in order to pursue this closure. This section of roadway has no driveway access on it and is not part of the city's future thoroughfare plan. According to the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials, a policy on geometric design of highways and streets, also known as the AASHTO Green Book, the design decision site distance for a left turn onto a 55-mile-per-hour highway is 610 feet. This intersection does not have near that much. It has about half that site distance. So, Chris, do you have it should be in that folder. No. It should be in the folder with Karen's stuff. Furthermore, average daily traffic on Farm Road 101 is currently only about 243 trips per day, which is about 10 trips per hour. Whereas on M Highway, it is about 3,652 trips per day, according to MoDOT's data, and according to staff projections, may more than double in the next 5 years. There have been 10 incidents reported at this location since 2012, 2 of which were minor injuries. Republic PD has reported 21 incidents in the past since 2009. The discrepancy there may come from Republic PD reporting a more broad general area, but their data had a little more to tell 12 of the 21 incidents happened in the 2 o'clock hour. So as school's getting out is when these incidents are occurring. The reports also indicate a trend of more vehicles being involved. So as there's more traffic on the roadway, the incidents are essentially piling up. The proposed closure would be minimally impactful to the overall traffic flow while increasing the overall network safety. And as development occurs and traffic increases on the main road of M Highway, the likelihood of an incident involving this side street continues to increase. Therefore, it is staff's recommendation that this road be closed. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Mr. Deckman.
Okay, on the what's gonna close is the straight part coming off of M down to Farm Road 170.
No,
No.
it would be the
Curved?
part just north of there. So from Highway M up to the first entrance to Old Stone Apartments. So Old
Oh,
Stone
okay.
Apartments wouldn't be affected at all.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
how do you go about closing a road? What's the process look like?
So what we intend to do, pending approval of this ordinance, is to put changeable message signs out to let people know that, hey, we are gonna close this road. We'll leave them out on M Highway and Farm Road 101 for 2 weeks. And then we will put concrete barricades out so that nobody can access the roadway. And then change the message signs for another 2 weeks to say this road is closed, and then get rid of the message signs.
Do people know how to reroute, or is that just something they're gonna have to learn? in the-
It's something they're gonna have to figure out. There are other ways around.
Yeah.
My suggestion would be to use the highways, just go up to the intersection of M and US 60, if you're on US 60 using Farm Road 101. So
Thank you.
Mr. Franklin.
So if this road is abandoned, what happens to the land underneath the road? Does that just remain the city property, or
sure,
how does
for
that
now,
work?
it would remain city right-of-way until a point at which we vacated it, which is something we may do in the future.
And then it would, if we vacate it in the future, it would just become a portion of the property adjacent to it.
It goes back to whoever originally owned the land when the right-of-way was dedicated. So if it's a split, it would go back to being split between both parcels.
So if this is approved by council, what's the timeline on approximate date of thinking we're going to, I know you said the notices, but then further on down the line?
So, yeah, if this gets approved, May 17th, we would probably move the message signs out immediately, so 2 weeks. And then closure, we'd be looking at 1st of June, somewhere around there.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? You know, you may not know this stat right off the top of your head, but you were saying the number of incidents that occurred on this road. Put that in perspective for me, if you can, or maybe Chief can. Is that a lot of incidents? Is that a few incidents? Is it something that causes a great deal of concern for safety?
The amount of incidents isn't as concerning to me as the speed at which these incidents can occur. You're pulling out without the proper decision sight distance onto a 55-mile-an-hour roadway. So there's a potential for somebody not paying attention to hit you at 55 miles per hour.
Like a high school kid looking at their phone right after school.
Yes.
So this is us being proactive more so than having to be reactive to the number of incidents.
Yes, I would much rather be here closing the road today than after something terrible happened.
Any other questions from council? Please remember, this is a first read. If you have any questions, get with staff before the next meeting. Moving on to other business, specifically resolutions. This is item number 15 on our agenda. That's where we're at, yeah.
Yep.
22-R-23, a resolution of the City Council expressing support for the Ozarks Transportation Organization, or OTO, and Missouri Department of Transportation for discretionary grant applications to improve Interstate 44 from US 65 to Kansas Expressway. I need a motion and a second to take up resolution 22-R-23.
Motion.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Nelson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Andrew Nelson, Builds Administrator. This resolution is expressing support for a discretionary grant that OTO is working on for Interstate 44. Important to note that this section of Interstate 44 is not immediately adjacent to Republic. but it is a priority for us. I-44 being I-44, it's a major corridor for all the things that happen in Republic. Also, when we as transportation organizations, whether it be Republic, MoDOT, or OTO, when we go after these discretionary grants, the benefit to the region is that we free up our local funds for other local priorities. With I-44 in particular, you're talking about a very, very expensive venture over the next several years for this region. So if we free up those dollars, they can be spent in Republic or Nixa or Ozark on local priorities.
Do we have any questions from council about this resolution or what Mr. Nelson just told us? Mr. Franklin.
Mr. Mayor, I just had a question on, so this resolution here, it's basically just in support. This doesn't directly cost the citizens of Republic any additional funding of any.
That's correct. A lot of the grant applications look for support of local stakeholders. Us being a stakeholder in the OTO, that's what we're doing here.
Any other questions? Seeing none, and as this is a resolution, we can call it immediately for a vote, which is what I'd like to do. All those in favor of this resolution, vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Resolution carries 7-0. Moving on to item number 16 on our agenda. This is 22-R-24, a resolution of the City Council authorizing the purchase of 4 2022 Ford Escape vehicles for Builds Department employees. I need a motion and a second to take up resolution 22-R-24.
Motion.
Second.
Got lots of motions and lots of seconds. Laura, you good? Excellent. Mr. Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This resolution is a little bit atypical because when we purchase vehicles on a state bid, normally it's under the purchasing threshold, but in this case, we're buying 4 of them. So in following the purchasing policy, we're asking council to approve these Ford Escapes. They were budgeted vehicles for builds this year.
Did you actually find 4 of them?
Yes, that was the amazing part. We moved from buying more F-150s to Escapes because they were a little bit more available.
Questions from council? Mr. Franklin.
Mr. Mayor, on the first, second, third, fourth vehicle, was the difference between the first and the next 3, was that just splitting the difference between them all, or was there a vehicle that's different than the other 3?
I would have to ask staff.
Or 4-wheel?
There you go. Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, and as this is a resolution, we can call it immediately for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Resolution carries 7-0. Moving on to reports from staff. Mr. Cameron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I want to apologize to staff because I threw you a curveball, and I appreciate that on a procedural change. I want to thank
I was the one doing all the talking.
well, I know everybody's looking like, what are you doing? I will tell you that that is something that is not uncommon, but at a certain time that we can help facilitate with the development community or anyone, that if we can get that done and not have to add it to the agenda again. So I thank you. The other thing about it is when I think about these agendas, I have to sit here and laugh because again, I've said this before, a lot of times you don't see what never makes it to the agenda. You only see what makes it here in the processes that go through there. So I want to thank the staff for the ever-evolving agenda that went into place on this one, because there's probably about 4 items on here that weren't on there probably as of last Thursday, and there's about 4 items that were on there last Thursday that have been removed. So I know for the legal counsel in the office that have to prepare these things, for Laura and everyone that has to get it ready, I do value that we can get through these things. That's why I probably say, listen, if we can read this second thing tonight, let's get it done. So I appreciate the flexibility that this council allows us, because I hope in the future we'll continue to evaluate things on first and second reads in the same time if it's just not a material change. But I want to thank you all for your work, because sometimes I think that I sit up here and laugh going, I know what it took to get to this agenda and get it done. I know we moved through it in 44 minutes, and it makes it look like we have not read it, but I promise you, I just appreciate this work that goes into it. Great questions tonight. I do appreciate asking about the vehicle. I didn't know that it was a 2-wheel drive, so that's news to me now. So good deal. I want to say that the street cuts is a pet peeve to me, so Andrew knows this part, the staff do. I'm thankful to see the fee change. I'm tired of seeing that if a street cut's not repaired to our standard, we're talking about spending a lot of money now that the ballot measure was passed and doing more street improvements and doing that. It's going to be very difficult to overlay a street, see a cut that you're like, someone comes in from out of state, puts in some fiber. I'm not going to I'm not saying it's fiber. I'm just saying whatever vendor it is, it needs to be put back to a standard that we like, and it doesn't look like it's just patchwork, even though there's times we have to cut a street. So thank you for looking out for that, looking out for the citizens, and I appreciate that work. The resolution, I want to talk about the resolution supporting I-44. The R value in the City of Republic, it says will be regional. There is that agenda item tonight, like Andrew said, there is a value to the citizens of Republic. It's hard to explain, but one thing that we as a body that you will hear me talk about in the coming months and during the next 12 months is how we can become more regional collectively as a region and supporting one another versus each getting their own. So yes, we're supporting a grant that has no immediate impact to our citizens, but it has an immediate impact to the region that does have an impact to our citizens. So thankful to the staff for throwing that together. We were only asked to write a letter. So we're like, listen, we as a collective body need to get behind it and start messaging that we as a collective community and body are supporting regional efforts versus silos. And so tonight you took one of the first steps to doing that really has no immediate impact, but it does have a regional impact, will ultimately lead to the MM corridor for us. And so by supporting others when it's our turn, I'm hoping to see the same support. So I appreciate that. I want to say something. The mayor asked me last meeting, he goes, define minimize impact or reduce cost to citizens. And so sometimes I just use the minimize impact because our job is to try to minimize the impact of what it is. And we use the term favor a lot in the city because I believe we have favor in our community. But I want to talk about the bonds that we borrowed back in February 1st. If you understood what the market has done since that time, if we were to go borrow that money and sign that and close those documents today, it would have cost us an additional $2.7 million in interest. And so when our citizens, when we don't communicate those things, I would just tell you, if we were to sell those bonds on the market, we actually had Stiefel pull this information for me today just so I could share. That's just how one day's different. There's not been a day since the day we closed that it's actually gone down. It's gone up. So when I look at it and I see the funding that's flowed in from highway improvements to supporting things, I just want to tell you that there's just a lot of things that we continue to get right. There's just some things that are beyond our control that God just blesses us with. And that $2.7 million is very important to our citizens, and sometimes it's just hard to explain. And I just want to communicate that to the entire community that we just saved $2.7 million just through being fortuitous of the day. So it's important why being urgent and being bold, because we moved that bond measure through, started in January, I think it was December, late December, in January, and closed in February. It's just unheard of how fast you all moved and how fast the staff worked on the S&P, even though I still got a little heartburn with that. But we have received a lot of favor, and I just appreciate the work that everybody does. And last, I said at the last meeting, this is the 7-pound weight, but I'm proud. I'm gonna present this to the mayor. I got the Employee Appreciation Week, but our community received the Trusted Leader Award in government, the class of government, and I want to present this to the council because in 2017, I'm sorry, this council adopted our mission, vision, and values that was based around process, relationships, and trust. And then through that trust, it talks about the clarity pillar, abstention. Yeah. The clarity pillar, it talks about people trust the clear, mistrust the ambiguous. When you look at it from a staff perspective, we took the 8 pillars of trust. This council adopted it. This was going to be the new way we were going to operate. I look at what the Parks Department has done with the connection pillar, with their partnerships with, I don't want to mess this up, but the work with the Pumpkin Days, the Kiwanis, the downtown parade, the collaboration between pulling the chambers involved. You got different organizations, Light Up Downtown for all those things. Those are all part of those connection pillars that they took those pillars and they advanced them. So what we were doing, we were just sending our message back to the author. And like I said, we were categorized with 5 different groups, but to be the government recognized throughout the nation that works on this trust edge work is very special to me because I think they recognize that we've done something very special in Southwest Missouri. And so I just want to commend the staff for our pillar, our award, but it's really to the City of Republic, and I am so thankful for all your hard work, but this elected body for the trust by adopting it and making it a part of our overall framework. So I'm going to present that, and we'll put that in the conference room. And
excellent, thank you.
You can, use it as your gavel in the future. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Reports from council. Mr. Franklin.
Mr. Mayor, first of all, I'd just like to thank Mr. Grooms for the time that he did give us here on council, and very much appreciate, even though he's gone already, I very much appreciate all the input he gave and his willingness to come here on council. just to touch on David, I still have that same
Yes.
deal from, I was sitting on that side of the audience when I got this, but I still have that from before when the original council had adopted it, and so it's very much something I keep in front of me as well. So thank you very much for all of the city staff that follows this, the mission vision, and we appreciate all of your efforts all through the week and making, all through the year and making Republic such a great place. From me and the citizens both, thank you very much in Employee Appreciation Week. Other than that, just really appreciate all the great conversations we've had the last couple of weeks, and I look forward to having very many more. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. Anyone else? All right, seeing no one else, I am going to say something. I don't usually, well, sometimes I do. All right, maybe a lot, but here we go. So I was driving my kids to school, and they go to McCullough, and we were taking a back road there, and my truck was bouncing on the road. And I was like, wait a second, I can do something about this. And I was like, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get Andrew up here. Andrew, come on up. I was going to get Andrew up here and say, look, we just passed a sales tax that funded our cops and our firefighters the way they should be, which removed those roads funds into the roads again. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get Andrew up here and I'm going to grill him. You know, Andrew gets too many free passes with me, and I was going to grill him. And I was going to say, Andrew, I want to know what the plan is. And come to find out, they already have a plan to fix the roads, and they've already presented it at the Chamber of Commerce today, so they completely took the wind out of my sails. Andrew, what's the plan to fix the roads?
Thank you. So,
Oh,
we,
look at this. They even have a
Oh my gosh.
This is ridiculous. Like,
I've not even seen this, so I'm looking forward to it.
I can't take credit for the presentation. That's Jared and Jennifer for sure. But so we let a bid for paving this year. Actually, we advertised it once already, and we only had one response, and that was for a few reasons. I think maybe we didn't get it out there enough, but we've re-advertised. We look to award that at the next council meeting. But very high level, you're talking about East Hines Street from Basswood to Lincoln, Elm Street from basically Main out to Bailey. Go ahead, Chris, to the next slide. Boston Lane over from Hines to 174, Hampton Avenue from Elm to 174. And then Miller Road out, there's a new subdivision going out on East Miller, Mason Ridge. This is a widening from the community center there at Lynn out toward that subdivision. And then the last one, everybody's favorite, Illinois Avenue, just behind the police station here. We're doing a widening and an overlay there too.
so the goal is to do that this summer.
Yeah, we're looking to award that bid at the next council meeting and then try to get all of that work in before August.
Do you have a long-term plan for what's going to be done in 23, 24, 25?
Yes, so
Do
probably.
you have a slide for that too?
I don't have the slide. I wish I did. We could probably get to it on the map, but I'm not going to take you through that. Was that 2017, 2018? We did a conditional assessment. So we did an inventory of all the streets in Republic, and we ranked them on a scale of bad. It didn't really get too much past bad.
Right.
On all the older streets. So there's so many that we could probably kind of throw the dart and hit any of the bad ones for a period of 10, 11 years at our current funding rate.
Okay.
So our plan is to follow that, tackle the worst ones first, and then as we add funding, keep adding to that overlay program. For a city like Republic, the right amount to invest in just an overlay and maintenance program is probably about $1.2 million annually. This year we're going to hit about the $750,000 mark.
Do we anticipate getting more money for that $1.2 million target?
Yes, I think as the city grows, the funding and the revenue in the street fund grows, and we keep prioritizing the improvements.
I don't want to open a Pandora's box by asking this, but I'm going to anyway. If citizens have a specific issue, can they contact somebody?
Yeah, I think contact the builds department, let us know what the priorities are. Like I said, there's so many, when you look at it from a conditional standpoint, that are priorities, that it's really a matter of what makes the most impact to us. So we look at traffic counts as well and say, not only is it bad, but it also serves more people. So that's why you see like the streets like Elm and Hines, those are gonna be priorities always because they're the most traveled roads.
Okay. I know that I have totally opened something here, and I would welcome the council asking any questions at this point, just simply because this is something that I hear about a lot, and I'm certain that you guys do too. Is there anything that I have not asked that you might think is important to ask about this issue?
Mr. Mayor, just clarification. So that number you said for citizens to call if they have a complaint on pothole or whatnot, was there like an actual number on the website? People
Yeah,
could look
just the Builds Department in general, but that our main line there's 3150.
3150. Thank you.
Anything else?
But I want to make a comment though, if I can.
No, absolutely.
So, Andrew, I think I love the presentation.
I didn't. That's
Well,
not
So
my word.
whoever,
Jared
so
and Jennifer,
staff,
well done. Yes.
staff, here you get the pillar award for a while. So, great job. I love that. This is a very, I know this is very frustrating for you because we've discussed it at length. I think this is the hardest thing to explain without insulting anyone. But whenever for 10 years your budget's only had 150,000 and he just told you that he needs 1.2 million a year. So 10 years goes by, that's $12 million worth of work that's not been done that he can't fix with 750,000 in 1 year. So I think the thing about it is yes, it passed in August, but to make up $12 million with 750,000, there's not enough hours in a day, there's not enough machines. So I think there's gonna it's just like the wastewater plant, from a 2011 compliance order to $150 million in need. That's gonna be a tough tiger to tame when everybody doesn't understand. Like that ballot measure provided 650,000, not 6.5 million. So I appreciate that you've squeezed that as far as you can, but I'm thankful for the list. But I'm thankful to see Illinois on there myself because I've heard, and anybody that's driven that street understands that's a legitimate complaint that quite frankly should have been addressed with the development. They should have widened it, not the city. But I think that's the right thing to do. But there is patience, there's grace, and that's why I want to make that one little caveat that it's going to take a while. How many miles of street did we add last year? How many miles did we add?
We're adding about 2.5 per year, I think.
So in 10 years, we've added 25 miles, if you would. So we've added 25 miles to the system. So we've got to continuously work on funding. And when we get to capital improvement projects, I just don't want everybody to I want to make it very clear that 650,000 provides them a way to do maintenance, not rebuilding streets. So they're overlaying, they're not putting in curb and gutter where curb and gutter should be done. This is a triage, so I'll be very clear what that did for us versus what he's saying we need to do.
As long as we're on the subject, Casey's and the schools, can we fix that?
That's a great question.
174.
You're asking about 174 in Maine.
Yeah, can we fix that? Because if there is a complaint that we all get, it is that. Can the city of Republic go fix that?
Twice a week.
We're actively working with the school district to assess that need because there's a multitude of solutions, and some of those are only for the school, like adding more length to their staging lanes. And then in general, the intersection of 174 in Maine is a problem. If you took the school out of it, it's still a capacity problem. So in that vein, we're also working with MoDOT to prioritize that improvement. But
Andrew, if I ordered you to go out there and pave 174, could you do it?
you could, not me, maybe the city administrator.
All right.
Charter doesn't let you.
Yeah, all right.
Right.
Sorry.
No,
But is it us or is it MoDOT?
it's a combination of both. And one thing I'll say about transportation improvements in general, and you're seeing this already just when we're talking about a 5-lane expansion to MM or a realignment at MM, we won't see those roads until 2025. So it's one thing to make the funding available, but when you're talking about partner agencies, the planning effort is so lengthy that I'm telling you we're actively working on it. It still means we won't see it for 2 to 3 years.
Is there anything we can do to speed up the process?
The best way I know for it to become a regional priority is for our citizens to voice their concerns to the other agencies that are involved. So talking to the OTO and talking to MoDOT, those are the best ways to make it known that this is a priority to the region.
But we are advocating for them, aren't we?
Correct. Yeah. The way we prioritize projects with the state and the OTO, there's a list of probably, when you add in the other communities, this list is probably 200 long. So even though it seems bad to us, when you rank it amongst other communities, it's not, this one in particular, I don't think it's even in the top 50. Now, MM and 60 through Republic are in the top 10, but this one's not probably up there. But the way we prioritize that, again, is through voicing the concern. The way we jump the list is to make funding available for the improvements in cost sharing.
It's a great question. So, Mr. Mayor, one thing about it is, like we did on MM, because it was not being expedited, we went and asked for the governor's cost share program, which requires a 50-50 local match. So if we went to MoDOT or to the governor's cost share program with our project, explained it, had the school participating in the cost, say it was a $4 million project, you know, just I'm using hypothetical numbers, and we came up with the $2 million, and the state and went to the governor's cost share program. That may be the way. That's another process that you can achieve the same objective, but it would take a partnership where, say, the school provided $1 million, we provided $1 million, and then apply for the 50% match.
And you're just making these numbers up.
I'm making it because it's going to be more than $4 million, because most likely, it's a very expensive fix.
It's on our radar.
Yeah, it is. I think the quickest and most significant improvements we will make will be with working with the school on planning their staging, because the biggest headache is right around that pickup time. So we're working with them, and we've even offered to partner in the design and the engineering efforts to lay that out. They're looking at adjacent properties. I mean, everything's just about in play to make that better.
You guys are having monthly lunches with the school people?
Not monthly.
No, but pretty frequent conversations, emails and phone conversations. Yeah.
It is a regular agenda item and a regular phone call issue, because I about got nailed there the other day and told Andrew the same. I'm like, I just about got drilled.
He can order you.
Yeah,
That's right.
Well, we talk about this exhaustively, and I think that even Gary Wilson drew, what was it, 2 years on the back of the legal pad, he had an idea that was actually a great idea that Olson actually made kind of an option to. So we have everybody offering suggestions, but it's been out there for a long time and a big problem. I think the problem is, it's like, it can't be fixed with pennies. It's going to take bills and large ones. And so you can talk about making it a priority, or you can fund it as such. But when you don't have any money to do that until now, I think we have to start putting skin in the game. And is that the biggest priority? And ask this. I think those are the conversations that we're going to start having, is what are the priorities when it comes to transportation in this council, and fund it that way. And if it is a priority, then we'll fund it. If it's like, hey, take care of Illinois, because Andrew could take all the Illinois money. It's just like presenting these things to the community. Which priority does the community want to address first? I'd be interested to see if they want Illinois done, or if they want I-174 and 60, or Maine done. But from the feedback we've received right now, I think this is a great work session discussion for 2023, 24, and 25.
I'm sorry to go all the way down this rabbit hole, but
it's worth it. It's
Yeah,
great discussion.
Can we do a survey? Can we send
Absolutely.
a survey?
So we're working on a. You want to?
I want to answer. I think that's this body's job to make the decisions on what they believe is in the best interest of what those needs are, based upon what your staff tell you those needs are, and you can decide where those are, because doing a survey may move the money into places that are not the most pressing need, and all you're doing is neglecting issues that need to be addressed over what is the most popular. And so I think that when the staff makes a recommendation that they need to address areas that are the most efficient, so it does not cost the citizens more in the future, I think that has to be I think the survey, I would want to know as staff, what do you believe they're most pressing? And if you have an area that, like, hey, I'd like to see it overlaid, or I have an area of concern, to express those positions, take feedback from the citizens of where they believe that should be, and express that on their behalf. I think that would be a lot easier than trying to take a poll, because
everybody's going to vote for
because 12 years, like I said, years of not taking care of it. There's going to be plenty of streets that people are going to list out there, and they've already got an assessment of what those streets are. I think that what's important is to make sure we're communicating what those improvements are. Community feedback's important and it's vital, but understanding what the most pressing engineering needs are that's not costing us. Because take Miller, for example, one of the most expensive streets in town. If it didn't make the list, it's the most costly to go and rebuild if we neglect it. So it's important to make sure that whatever staff is recommending, based upon engineering assessment, is considered. We probably crossed into an agenda item, but anyway, it's worth the discussion.
Andrew, anything that I forgot to ask?
I don't think so.
Since you already had all the answers.
I'm telling you, that's special.
We we are working on a transportation publication, so I want to put that out there that we haven't done a great job of communicating these projects that you'll see in later years. So 23, 24, 25. So when you talk about a survey and the opportunity to comment, someone's going to say, MM is a priority to me. Well, we haven't really publicized the plan for MM. So before that survey goes out, we'd want them to know what is already programmed, what's out there, what's coming, and then find the need from there.
Thank you.
Andrew, would it be beneficial if we maybe did less roads and then put more money into one road and like did it right instead of patch it? Or is there even enough money if you took it from the other roads?
That's a great question. So what we do is we try to strike a balance of, is it the right time to just overlay and buy 10 more years out of this road as is, so that we can go focus on and fully repair another street? So we're trying to balance which ones are too far gone, which one can we, if you remember, we did a ceiling on Miller, and although it's not the most visually appealing thing, it bought us probably 5-10 years from having to do a major repair. So that allows us to take the major repair money somewhere else.
Okay, last question. If
Yeah.
you could redo 174 in Maine, what would you want it to look like?
Yeah, the problem we fight there is space of right of way. So the easiest fix would be a roundabout to fit it into the situation. Anytime MoDOT's involved, you're going to find that they have taken a position that adding signals to their system is not preferred for various reasons, whether it be maintenance or safety. So a roundabout at an intersection point like that's probably going to be the preferred solution.
We've even talked about, Jared, close your ears, and Jennifer, but we've actually talked about building a road across on the back side of that park, actually building a road back to Boston Lane, and actually putting the roundabout at Boston Lane and 174, because
Jared's gonna fight you.
well, we've talked to the school, but just making sure, because there's some families involved, and there's some things, but it wouldn't like take out the trail. It'd just be like putting a road, restructuring the trail. But it's like, if there was a road going to Boston Lane, and then I got to deal with my good council member down here who lives right down the road from me, putting in access like the one out roundabout that would actually, because that intersection's terrible too, and so that's the discussion. So we have these discussions exhaustively. You know what I think is awesome about this discussion? Because we haven't talked about streets. This is the first time in like 6 years we've actually got to have a discussion. It's great news because it's going to be a huge win for our citizens. So, but I do have the complaint. What's that street that runs between the elementary schools that I've complained? Is it Hamilton? Hampton.
Yeah,
I didn't see that on the list. I complained about it a lot.
Yeah, it was.
Can you back up?
Yeah, it was
My
on.
bad. Okay, moving right along.
Yeah, that red line, the long red line.
I did get that earmark. I'm just
Yeah.
He's joking. Hey, thank you.
You're welcome.
Pop quiz passed.
Thanks.
Mostly because of Jared and Jennifer. So, all right. With that, we're not done with the fun yet, folks, because we've got executive session. No further action other than announcing adjournment by the mayor shall take place after an executive session that is scheduled as the last matter on the agenda, unless otherwise stated on the agenda or is allowed per RSMO 610.02. Tonight we will be covering number 1, RSMO 610.02 1.1, pending and or potential litigation, closed session, closed vote, closed record, RSMO 610.02 1.3, hiring, firing, promotion, and disciplining personnel, closed session, closed vote, closed record. I'd entertain a motion and a second to adjourn to closed session.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Mitchell,
Aye.
Councilmember Poole, Councilmember Franklin,
Aye.
Councilmember Gerke,
Aye.
Councilmember Updike, Councilmember Wilson, Councilmember Dykeman.
Aye.
Motion to